Today, he commands a net worth of roughly $400 billion, wielding a level of global industrial power that surpasses many nations. But this empire was built on the absolute brink of total ruin. In 1980s Pretoria, South Africa, he was heavily isolated. He suffered severe physical bullying. Once beaten so badly, he was hospitalized after being thrown down a flight of stairs. To cope, his mind would frequently shut out the external environment, retreating into trance-like states where his brain processed complex ideas. His survival mechanism was to retreat into logic. He immersed himself in encyclopedias and computer code, building closed systems where he dictated all the rules. By age 12, he spent 3 sleepless days programming a space shooter video game called Blaster, which he sold for $500. Recognizing that his ambitions required a larger stage, he leveraged a familial connection. He used his mother's Canadian citizenship to leave South Africa at 17, eventually transferring to the University of Pennsylvania to establish his footing in America. This childhood forged a foundational operating model. He learned early on that when the external world is hostile and chaotic, the only reliable way to survive is to engineer your own internal systems. That logic drove his first internet startup, an online business directory called Zip2. He rented a small apartment, slept on the floor, and coded day and night. The intense labor paid off when Compaq acquired the company, handing him $22 million. He could have retired comfortably at age 27. Instead, he took $12 million from that payout and placed a massive gamble on an entirely unproven concept, taking the slow, physical banking industry completely online with a digital bank called X.com. X.com quickly found itself locked in a brutal marketing war against a rival digital bank called PayPal, led by Peter Thiel. Both companies were burning through millions in cash, giving away sign-up bonuses, forcing them into a merger to avoid mutual destruction. Inside the merged company, Musk's management style proved highly abrasive. He micromanaged his staff, publicly criticized mistakes, and demanded that complex coding tasks be finished in hours. The resulting friction led the board and executives to stage a coup, stripping him of his CEO title while he was out of the country on his honeymoon. He remained the largest shareholder, and when eBay acquired PayPal for $1.5 billion, Musk walked away with $180 million. But the ousting exposed a critical flaw in his approach. Acquiring wealth means very little if you leave yourself vulnerable by losing absolute control. Following the tragic loss of his 2.5-month-old son, Musk buried his grief by committing himself entirely to work. He took his newly acquired PayPal fortune and bet it simultaneously on 2 notoriously impenetrable, capital-intensive sectors, the space industry and the automotive industry. His initial plan was to spark interest in Mars exploration by purchasing intercontinental ballistic missiles. He flew to Russia to negotiate, but the aerospace experts mocked his youth and demanded $21 million for a single rocket. This diagram illustrates his solution: vertical integration. Musk calculated that raw materials accounted for only about 3% of a rocket's total cost. By collapsing the supply chain and manufacturing engines and tanks entirely in-house, he bypassed slow, expensive third-party suppliers to form SpaceX. He applied the exact same first principles engineering at Tesla Motors. Traditional electric cars failed because they relied on heavy, inefficient lead-acid batteries. Tesla solved the range problem by wiring thousands of small lithium-ion laptop cells together into a single vehicle. To prove this consumer hardware could actually power a vehicle, Tesla packaged the battery architecture inside a high-performance premium sports car known as the Roadster. The engineering logic was sound. However, attempting to simultaneously overhaul heavy automotive manufacturing and aerospace engineering had set a ticking financial time bomb. By 2008, the global economy was in a freefall. Inside Musk's companies, the situation was catastrophic. Tesla's production costs had spiraled to $100,000 per car, ruining its business model. Meanwhile, SpaceX had spent $100 million launching 3 rockets, and all 3 had exploded midair. SpaceX had enough capital left to attempt exactly one more launch. If the 4th Falcon 9 rocket failed, both companies would run completely out of cash and cease to exist. With external investors refusing to provide more funding, Musk liquidated his remaining personal assets, even selling his prized McLaren supercar just to meet payroll and keep Tesla breathing for a few more days. In December of that year, the fourth Falcon 1 rocket lifted off. The stages separated perfectly, the payload reached orbit, and SpaceX became the first private company in history to achieve the feat. The individual payoff was immediate. NASA awarded SpaceX a $1.6 billion contract to run cargo to the International Space Station. Days later, on Christmas Eve, Tesla secured $40 million in emergency funding to avert bankruptcy. Surviving 2008 permanently hardened Musk. It transformed extreme risk tolerance and uncompromising control into his standard operating procedures for survival. With capital secured, Tesla expanded into the mass market with the Model S. By integrating a central touchscreen and over-the-air software updates, Musk treated the car as a computer on wheels, allowing its performance and features to evolve long after it left the factory. Simultaneously, SpaceX engineered reusable rockets. By successfully landing the Falcon 9 booster back on Earth instead of discarding it in the ocean, they drastically reduced the cost of reaching orbit and dominated the aerospace industry. They are currently testing Starship, a massive, fully reusable launch vehicle engineered specifically for interplanetary travel and Mars colonization. He aggressively expanded into other sectors, deploying thousands of satellites for the Starlink internet network, designing brain-computer interfaces with Neuralink, and entering the artificial intelligence race with xAI. Musk engineered a self-sustaining ecosystem of hardware and software designed to force his specific version of the future into existence. That demand for absolute control recently collided directly with the social internet. He acquired Twitter, immediately fired thousands of employees, and subjected the global communications platform to his own operational rules. His operations have now expanded into the geopolitical arena, utilizing his immense wealth to fund political campaigns and firmly align himself with the highest levels of U.S. government power. The scale of his bets has outgrown his personal bank account. As he integrates his technology into critical infrastructure, from the satellites providing global internet to the AI systems managing social discourse, the consequences of his survival logic now ripple through the entire global population. Today, society navigates a world heavily engineered by one man's uncompromising vision.